Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is now just a little over 3 weeks away from its official release by Disney, Lucasfilm, J.J. Abrams, and even creator George Lucas. That is all set and ready to end the Skywalker saga and the sequel trilogy itself. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 that a lot of fans are very curious about and also very worried about when it comes to this film is exactly how they are going to utilize the characters of Rey, Kylo Ren, Palpatine in this movie, and exactly how that's all going to unfold from start to finish of this movie by J.J. Abrams. Now, going into Episode 9, we also know that this film is going to have many different revelations that will lead to major saga-wide implications of the Skywalker saga, which, like I've always stated before in the past, that is either a very big risk, whether for good or bad by Disney and Lucasfilm, will all depend on how this is all executed on the big screen. Now, through the past couple of months of this year of 2019, many different changes and adjustments took place throughout August, September, and October in order to change the overall tone of this movie, and what's rather unfortunate has all to do with the third act of Episode 9. Now, specifically, it's explained that during the months of August, September, and October is when many changes and adjustments took place by Disney and Lucasfilm, as well as Kathleen Kennedy. It's explained that the major changes had a massive impact on the second and third acts of the film, especially the third act, where it's noted that around 30% of Adam Driver's original scenes fighting Palpatine were deleted, where the screen time was significantly reduced. Now, it's described that during the adjustments of the film, both Kylo Ren and Palpatine's screen time at the end of the movie was reduced in order to give more screen time to other characters fighting on the world of Exegol, such as Zori Bliss, Rose, Poe, Finn, and others, during their battle on top of a Star Destroyer. Now, it's explained that one of the major scenes between Kylo Ren and Palpatine were also cut that was said to be one of the greatest performances by Ian McDiarmid in the film, that sadly had to be cut due to the film's structure changing completely. That original sequence would entail a moment in which Kylo Ren and Palpatine would both use Force lightning against each other during their Force duel, and that Kylo was still able to tap into the dark side before his turn to the light in the version of that cut of the film. The scene was said to serve as a parallel to when both Yoda and Palpatine were blocking lightning in Revenge of the Sith. However, what made this scene different was that Sidious was using red Sith lightning against Kylo, and Kylo was using blue lightning against Sidious. Additionally, it's said that Ian McDiarmid was very upset that the scene got cut because it took around 3 straight days to film the scene over at Pinewood over in the UK, and that it actually also required intense wire work for Adam Driver, where it's stated that the screen time of both Kylo Ren and Palpatine fighting against each other alone is very brief right now in comparison to what it was before, where now it's said that Kylo Ren's scenes in Palpatine's throne room and his screen time with Sidious was significantly reduced. Now, I don't know about you guys, but to me that sounds like a disaster. The fact that they completely reduced the amount of screen time between Palpatine and Kylo Ren, and that an entire scene was cut from the actual movie that involved both characters using lightning against each other, which sounds amazing and just out of this world. The fact that they took that out in order to save screen time for characters like Jannah, Rose, other characters like Dio and BB-8 on top of the Star Destroyer with the horses, I don't know how to really respond to that other than it's a big letdown. I feel that switching that scene out and greatly reducing the screen time, not just for Palpatine, but also for Kylo Ren, both of which being inside of his throne room in exchange for those characters with the horses fighting on top of the Star Destroyer on the world of Exegol, I think is a terrible decision by Disney and Lucasfilm. Now, a lot of fans, and this is the truth, a lot of fans are going into this movie because they want to see exactly how it ends, how the Skywalker saga wraps up, and exactly what Palpatine is going to look like and how he's going to be in this movie. Palpatine really is the driving force for the reason as to why fans want to go ahead and see the film for the most part. That's what it seems like, because, you know, they have him slapped right on the teaser poster, you see his face there, you have him laughing in the background in multiple TV spots and trailers. And not just that, you know, the fact that J.J. Abrams had to bring Palpatine in at last minute, that was actually said by Colin Trevorrow that it was all J.J.'s idea and that it never was in the cards years ago. Basically, they used Palpatine as a way to shoehorn him in order to have another villain take place in the movie. So this particular scenario where many of the changes took place during those months and they erased all those different scenes between Ian McDiarmid and Adam Driver that required tons of wire work for Adam Driver and a lot of special effects that took 3 days worth of shooting over at Pinewood, which by the way is a big shoot for, you know, a little duel like that, exchanging lightning and stuff around those lines. I think it would have been amazing. I think it would have been a beautiful shot, basically giving us a parallel to what happened in Revenge of the Sith between both Yoda and Darth Sidious, you know, of course in episode 3, where you have the iconic themes by John Williams playing along with all of that as it jumps back and forth between Anakin and Obi-Wan, Yoda and Sidious. So that could have very well served as a moment just like that in, of course, The Rise of Skywalker that we will never be able to see in the final cut of the movie. That's my only problem with this and why it sounds like a disaster, is that they reduced the screen time of Palpatine and Kylo Ren in order to exchange that for sequences with Rose, Jannah, Dio, BB-8, Finn, Poe riding the horses on top of a Star Destroyer. It just does not seem like something that the hardcore fans would want to see, or what the real Star Wars fans would want to see, and that is, of course, a great and lengthy showdown between Kylo Ren and Palpatine in this movie. And that's just my honest opinion. I'm just being honest right here, and I think that's all that really matters of how I feel of what they actually did and what they decided to do with those particular scenes within the third act of Episode 9. And a lot of these actual sequences, you know, were actually changed because Disney, Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, you know, they all wanted to change the overall tone of the film. They wanted it to cater to a general audience, basically to everybody that goes ahead and sees this movie, even if they're not familiar with Star Wars. They want to make this movie an acceptable film to the general audience, to everybody. And that's a very hard decision because then they have to sacrifice certain scenes that the hardcore fans would have loved to see, and even what the casual fans would love to see. I'm sure the casual fans would have loved, you know, a lengthy duel between both Kylo Ren and Palpatine that is now said to be a very brief duel at this point in time, where Kylo Ren just gets killed eventually by getting thrown down a pit. Not quite sure how fans are going to react to that. I feel that's going to yet be another scene that's going to create quite a divide between the fans. You know, it's going to remind me of what happened between, you know, Luke and Kylo Ren and their saber duel, and that Luke was never really there. That also created a big divide. You can only imagine, you know, what kind of a divide that's going to actually take place where Kylo Ren is killed pretty much, you know, just fighting Palpatine briefly and barely, and that's it. That's just how he dies down a bottomless pit. You know, I hope that, you know, J.J. Abrams knows what he's doing and how, depending on how it's going to be executed, it's going to work well on the big screen with the right music and the right camera angles and the right cinematography. Maybe it will look cool. Maybe it will actually resonate with fans, including myself. But for me, Kylo Ren just dying like that against Palpatine and just having no explanation of his whereabouts or the true fate of Kylo Ren and leaving that ambiguous, I think is a very bad decision by Disney and Lucasfilm. I think that having him die should be more around the lines of how Darth Vader died, where you have him hanging on, you have him talking to the last remaining hero, such as Rey in this scenario, and then you have him die off and Rey can bring him elsewhere and have a nice funeral or something like that. They could have done something similar in a sense to that Return of the Jedi, and I get it, they don't want to remake the same movie, I understand that. And Kylo Ren's death, by the way, is said to parallel Han Solo's death, falling down that deep chasm in the Starkiller base, and that's exactly why J.J. Abrams did that, is because basically Ben Solo's death will mirror Han Solo's death. It's almost like J.J. Abrams is indirectly telling us that Kylo Ren gets what he deserves, and he gets the same exact death that Han Solo got. Literally. And I'm not quite sure how I really feel about that at the end of the day. That's just my honest opinion and take, and that's my 2 cents on things there. I would like to hear if you guys agree or disagree with my opinion on all of that, and what do you guys think? You know, exchanging the scenes for Rey and Kylo Ren and Palpatine and reducing that screen time significantly in exchange for Jannah, Rose, and Zori Bliss, and all those characters on top of the Star Destroyer with the horses. Do you think that was a right decision or a bad decision? By Disney and Lucasfilm, of course. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.